Hi there, my name is Jenny and I'm from the Dyslexia Association. Today's talk is brought to you by Wexford County Council and the CYPSC. I'm going to be discussing reading for pleasure today. So I thought at the beginning what I'd do is discuss what dyslexia is. Some of the parents here may already have a dyslexic student and some might be just starting out. So dyslexia and reading for pleasure. What dyslexia is, put simply, it's the difficulty acquiring age-appropriate reading, writing and/or spelling skills. So this is what we would say in all of our talks for parents who are starting out. But as we know, it's not that simple, which is why children with dyslexia can struggle through school. Dyslexia occurs on a spectrum, which means it can range from mild to moderate severe with a range of levels in between. Some parents may be familiar with these words already, or if you look at the bell curve there, you might be familiar with some of the words and the scores. So a lot of children would be the below average range, which is third from the left. Children who need assistive technology might be in the low average range, which would be on the 2nd percentile, or children who have an Irish exemption might be on the 10th percentile, and these are words that you would be familiar with. Dyslexia is hereditary and it has a neurological basis. It's lifelong and there is no cure, so there's no blue tablet that would take it away. What does dyslexia mean? So for some children, it means that they will struggle with reading fluency as well as remembering and recall what they have to read. For some, it will mean finding it really hard to sound out the words in their heads when trying to spell because they don't have that phonic ability. For some, it will mean the sustained effort deciphering reading and making them too tired to do the rest of their homework after school. I know at the moment we may not be doing much homework, there isn't many books being sent home, but these are good tips to continue to use. For some, it means you're forgetful or disorganized. We all know that we've asked our dyslexic child to go and get their maths book and they come back with their history book, or to go and put on their PE gear or their GA gear and they come back wearing a different outfit because they know they have a task, but halfway through they forget what the task is and they know they may as well attempt something. So some may experience a difficulty organizing their thoughts and ideas on paper. And this is because when you have a difficulty spelling or you're a bit forgetful, your oral language is much better than when you have to write it out. That's why writing is hard as well. Some pupils find writing is hard. Some pupils also experience a difficulty with rote learning. Rote learning is how the majority of teachers teach. And we know that this is how, when a primary school or secondary school teacher may be in teaching college, they're taught how to learn in this way, rote learning, and a lot of students just don't, a lot of dyslexic students don't have the ability to learn off something by heart because it won't stay in their long-term memory, so they can't recall it. And then a lot of students, as we know, have difficulties with languages because they can't learn a language off by heart. You need to understand what you're doing. For some children, it makes them more determined and self-motivated. So we know that for the older children, they know that dyslexia is hard. They know it's no quick fix and it's no easy game. So they have to give 150% every time, and they know homework might take longer or they have to get up earlier to learn their spellings, things like that. We would say that some become excellent leaders because they have a good ability to delegate. So they don't know how to do the task themselves, so they tell someone else to do it. What does dyslexia mean? Some may have already the ability to problem solve in different way to their peers. So it's helping them to think in a creative way or outside the box, as we would say. And then some pupils become more self-aware and better able to learn than assimilate information. What dyslexia is not. So we know it's not a disease. It doesn't come, you can't catch it. It doesn't go away. It's not a lifelong sentence. So it does improve over time with the correct support. It's not a foregone conclusion that your child will never learn to read, although they may not like reading, they will improve over time. And it's not an excuse to give up early. So we know that some children might, when you're doing homework or if you're home, I can't do it, it's too hard, I'm not good, I don't want to do it, or they give up easy. So you have to keep on putting that into them, try harder, and it'll get easier over time. Of course, we all say it's not what we would choose for our children, and it makes education a harder time to get through, and it isn't a gift. We know that there are some programs and there are some books out there that would say dyslexia is a gift, but as a dyslexic person, I would say it is hard. It isn't a gift. It's not an easy ride. But any of the adults that we've assessed or that we do talks with would say they wouldn't go back and change being dyslexic because it's given them lots of opportunities. But this is what we would say at a lot of our parents' talks as well, is that with the right help and support, understanding and determination, dyslexia is something that can be remedied and overcome, either with specific accommodations for junior cert and leaving cert or personal strategies. You may ask your school for an IEP, an individual educational plan, and also hard work. So, reading for dyslexic children. The basis of reading is phonics, spelling, and reading fluency. So if you have younger children, the next slide might be familiar to you. Students who are taught phonics first as a basis of reading, you learn phonics, you learn words, and then you learn to read. So the books like this, the Jolly Phonics books, which are done in junior and senior infants, the programs, they might be continuing Jolly Phonics if a student finds phonics hard. So they might continue with Snip or Toe by Toe. These are things you might be familiar with. The teacher might have sent books home. But if you have a concern over your child's phonics, these are the next slide, are some programs that we would suggest. So over COVID, I have a child in juniors. So over COVID, I found this really helpful. So the alpha blocks are small little 10-minute programs done by CBeebies, but they're available on YouTube. All the blending sounds are there, and because it's a cartoon, it's fun to learn for the younger kids. These are some of the sites we would suggest for phonics and for spellings. So as you can see there's alpha blocks. There's a website, Dyslexia Scotland, which is their association. They have great YouTube channel around all the bases of reading, spelling, phonics. These are 2 videos that we would have found very useful. I'll put the links to the videos in the end of this. Toe by Toe. Toe by Toe is probably very familiar to some of the parents out there. So it's a red A5 book. It can take 12 weeks, 12 months to learn. It's really individual as to how long it takes. The last link I've put in, we found this over lockdown as well, very useful for the younger kids. So it's Mr. Thorne Does Phonics, and basically it's a young primary teacher and he teaches with puppets. It's fun and it's an easy way to learn as well. Nessie is a really informative program that a lot of us would suggest in our website. So the apps that are available are Hairy Phonics, Hairy Words, Hairy Numbers, and it's basically the furry ball. You chase him around the screen to learn your phonics, and when you get it wrong, it's just a positive noise. It's not a negative effect. And these are the most popular ones: Hairy Letters, Hairy Phonics 1, Hairy Words 1 and 2. A lot of the times Nessie would have deals on their website, so although the apps can cost maybe €3.50 or €4, every now and again they'll have them for a deal, being either free or $1.50 or half price around Easter or Christmas or coming back to school. So we also have a spelling program available through Nessie. This is the link here. So it's 4 spelling strategies. Word Wasp is made by Toe, so it's the same form of spelling procedure and learning. And then the last one here, Teach Your Monster to Read, is very good. It was made by teachers. It's my 6-year-old uses it. Fun, you're chasing the little monsters around the screen, but you're actually forming phonics and sounds to make words. They don't realize they're learning. So, spelling. One of the most persistent difficulties associated with dyslexia is spelling. Children with dyslexia may never be good spellers, but not everybody is. So there's no point in being overcritical. If they're never going to spell, don't work on spelling, just on spelling. Maybe give spelling 10 minutes and then move on to other subjects. Or when you are doing spelling, you're giving them functional spellings to help them to write about their interests. So repetition and multi-sensory teaching has the best results. So for younger kids, again, with the repetition and the multi-sensory teaching them spellings through sounds or poems is good. So by clapping or bouncing a ball as they're learning how to spell a word, using the keyboard, they're typing, you can use neon colors. You can use highlighters. There's lots of different ways. You can letter tiles, chalk, sand out the back, getting them to be familiar with the words. This is always a good tip. Trace and jump, which is just being out the back, tracing on chalk and jumping over the words. And rainbow writing, again, if you have a back garden or if you have space in your living room, give them some A3 or A2 paper and let them draw the spellings or the words that they're familiar with. Mnemonics has also really become more apparent and more familiar in teaching. It's memorable poems or phrases, initials or acronyms, making use of elaborate encoding. Now again, these are all really big words, so basically that's why I put the image in. So on the left hand side we have the mnemonic version, and on the right hand side we have the planet names. So my very educated mother just served us noodles. Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. So it's giving you them kind of remembering the poems for the names of the planets. Online, if you just look up mnemonics, you'll get a lot of websites that offer this information for free, and Pinterest have a lot of tips on it as well. It's really handy. So next is reading fluency. There is a lack of understanding of reading stems from a lack of automated recognition of sight vocabulary. So a lot of students wouldn't be able to look at a word and just know what that word says. That's a very big dyslexic trait. So what we would say is little and often. Use like things like cue cards with the one word spelled on them, flashcards, and then apps like the sight word apps. These teach in grades, so first class, second class, third class, and then also the DOLCH words, which shows each word and spoke out loud. DOLCH list. So DOLCH list is the 200 most common words in the English language. It's made up of 50 to 75% of all the ordinary words that children would be familiar with. Once a child knows the DOLCH list, it makes reading much easier. So once they're familiar with like the majority of these words, it would make reading much easier for them. The next slide is the current DOLCH list. So it's very good. You can take an image of it, or you can email me and I can send it to you. It's available online as well. So as you can see, it's broken into 5 categories. So pre-primer, which would be kindergarten or junior infants, primer, senior infants, first grade, second grade, third grade. So currently in the Irish schools, juniors and seniors would be like, you do your phonics and your sounds, they'd be mixed into juniors and seniors and firsts. So a lot of the time they'll do them in batches, so that's why they're broken up into blocks. If your child is older than, say, third class, if they're 10, say, what you could do is, if you didn't want to go back to the individual words, you could take some out, or you could cut up this list and have them pick words out and make sentences with the words to see if they're familiar with them. So, reading. The following suggestions are here to help improve the confidence of your reluctant reader. How can you help as a parent? So the next set of tips and hints are kind of for us as parents, things that we can do when we're reading to our children at home. So when reading with your child, be as comfortable and relaxed as possible. Making reading part of your child's daily routine and something that they don't have to do, or you have to read, oh, we 5 minutes, you have to read your book. Make it a bit of a more positive experience. Let's do reading as a treat or after homework. Try to make it as fun as possible. For younger kids, you can do voices, or depending on what books you're reading, with characters in, change the voices up, have them read a character, you can do a character. For younger children, being read to can help their imagination. If they hear you read, it may want them to be able to read with you next time, to read along with you. This can help with their listening skills also, and it can help understand how stories are built up to improve their vocabulary and also their imagination. So practice around reading fluency. These are some tips to try and get the children to read out loud to themselves. Practice, practice, practice. So it's reading as often as you can, and not homework reading, but reading for pleasure. So what we would suggest is things like, I have some things here. So if you have your own Kindle or a tablet, if you have an older, letting them use the Kindle or the tablet. We've all become more familiar with Zoom. So if you do Zoom calls with your parents, you could say, hey, look, Mary's after learning how to read this page, and have her read it to your family or her auntie or one of your friends. So she's like, oh yeah, look at what I can do, you know, making them a bit more positive around it. Using comics or graphic novels for kids who are age appropriate. It just means it's more fun. You bring them, you get them their comic, you know, and you can also use audiobooks for read along. And once high interest is essential, once they're interested in what they're reading, if they don't have an interest in comics, you buy them their favorite football team book or an almanac around like GAA, or, you know, the whatever they're familiar with, whether it's a rugby star or a movie star or Disney Channel, you know, Star Wars books, whatever their interest is. So when we're doing paired reading, this is what we would say, keep in mind when starting paired reading. So say the word. We all have this where he doesn't know the word and I'm getting him to sound it out and I'm getting him to do back cat. Like we would say, just tell them the word and move on. Don't make it a negative experience. So if a child cannot read a word, do not have them sound it out or break up the word. Just tell them the word. You can use this as a good way to introduce a word book or a notebook to write down the word in a notebook. You can ask them to describe the word or put it into a sentence. I've actually got one here just as an example. So my 8-year-old, we're currently reading Roald Dahl, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So we're about 4 chapters in, and it's when they get to the chocolate room. And the word is, what is more, there was a tremendous waterfall halfway along the river. So tremendous. My little one didn't know that word, didn't know what it was. So we have a word book. So we wrote down tremendous, wrote down all the words he thinks tremendous it is. So big, he wrote big, massive, huge, large. So we know now that if that word comes back up, he can pull out his word book and he can look it up, so he becomes familiar with the word. So always give your child praise. When your child gets a word right, be positive, acknowledge that they understand it. It show you are pleased, and then you just continue reading, like move on, continue reading the chapter. We don't like nagging or fussing when they get a word wrong, so we don't like too much praise when they get a word right. Good reading for hard words, getting all the words in a sentences right, putting words right before you do, and even making a good guess of a new word. These are all positive attributions. So reading together. You and your child read together out loud. So instead of them listening to you, the two of you say it. I know it's hard. Younger children might read they mightn't read in a fluent way, but give them the time to get comfortable. So like that, move your speed faster or slower with your child. Your child must read every word. We would say that, like, try and get them to be as reading all the sentences as possible. Never let your child struggle for more than 5 seconds on a word. If your child struggles for too long or gets a word wrong, say the right word yourself. Make sure they say it, repeat it, and then move on. Make sure that your child is looking at the words. It can help them if you point out the words they are reading with your finger. It's best if your child does the pointing. But these are tips we would use, like a finger spacer or a reading ruler. I know finger spacers are for writing, but it helps them step along the words. So reading alone. When your child seems ready, or if you have an older child and you do some paired reading with them and they want to be left alone, you could decide to do maybe sentences at a time, and then when you feel they're ready to be left alone, or if they're saying, no dad, no, I'll do it now, you just sit there, you know, you let them read alone and you be there in case they get stuck. You give them the word and then they move on, you know, as long as you're available to give them that support if they're stuck on chapters, or they could be, you know yourself, they're changing, you didn't finish that whole chapter, or that page has gone too quick, so they're not reading, they're just flicking. Making sure you're there to supervise. What we would say is that to source your books, a lot of children wouldn't be able, if they're dyslexic, they may have different books to the students in their class. So children with dyslexia need access to good literature and books with low age, high interest levels, so high-low readers. You can contact your local library. A lot of libraries are starting to open back up now. They're offering rentable drop-offs. They're posting you the books. You can get them online. Queen's University, they've left this video here. I'll also link this below. Is a very good informative video about high-low readers. So again, interest. Make sure your child is interested in what they're reading. If they're not interested in fiction, you can get books, as I said, about their favorite sports or cartoon characters. Talk to them about what they want and make a day of it. Whether you go to Eason's, go to town, go to the library, buy them the books they want. Now, material, physical books. So some children and young adults may prefer to read graphic novels or comic books. So Deco Comics are a dyslexia-friendly comic book publisher. So their website is, we've shared it lots of times, their website will be good. These can be great with less text, more pictures, and therefore easier to read. The reason I put Percy Jackson is because his character is dyslexic, so dyslexic children might like that the character is also dyslexic. As I said before, using the Kindle. If an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old has a birthday or Christmas or communions are all different times this time of year now, they could get a Kindle, you know, or if you have one, let them use it. The Kindle Fire have a text-to-speech option where they can tap on the word and have the word read to them as well, so that can give them that independence as well. You can customize it, you can change your font, you can change it to sepia tone, big font, little font, the color of the pages. And the video here shows you how the speech-to-text function works. Audiobook. This is my favorite thing in the world, audiobooks. You can listen while following along with the text in the book. So for example, Audible have the Harry Potter. So if you have your Harry Potter book, you can listen to Stephen Fry reading it at the same time. It's great for reluctant readers because audiobooks can get them hooked on particular series of books like the Harry Potter books or the Percy Jackson books, or, you know, for older kids, things like Divergent series is really good, or To Kill a or the Mockingjay books, they're really good as well. For reluctant readers, audiobooks alone is a way to get you hooked on, say with Stephen Fry reading books once they're familiar with it. So audiobooks are a really good next step in getting them to read. The reason I've put this slide in is that I looked up this genre. I was looking up what to put in, so I found this this list of this type of books. Agatha Audley. So there's a range, I think she's 6 books out. The mystery genre, age 9 to 12. So I have the Audible version, the hardback copy, and also Waterstones have a YouTube video on the book. So there's lots of different ways to gain access to one book. So we'll just tip on high-low readers again. High-low readers are books where the content is appropriate to the age of the reader, but the text is edited to suit a lower reading age. The books are high interest, but a low reading age. High-low readers mean a child can read titles that they are age appropriate for them, but also simple to read. So I have one here. This is one that we would use in some of our reading schools. So it's a thinner book, so it wouldn't be as big as the Roald Dahl book, but it's quick to read. There's lots in the series. You can see there's images. The text is quite big as well. It's not as small as the other normal books, for want of a different word. Where you would source high-low readers, this is one of the most popular websites out there, Barrington Stokes. Barrington Stokes have a page specifically for parents, but also specifically for teachers. It's a very informative website. If you go on, click on the link, it'll show you where you can buy them. It'll show you all the different books that are specifically for dyslexia, dyslexic or reluctant readers. Accessible layout, the spacing, the page colors. The paper is heavier with gentle tints to help reduce visual stress. Visual stress is very important for dyslexic kids. You know, they can say my eyes hurt, but it's probably because they're tired as well. Now, so support. Ask your school for support, ask your teachers, ask your learning support teacher. If your child has access to an SNA in the classroom, your teachers, your schools, a lot of libraries, as I said, are opening back up now. See if they have a dyslexia section. Go on some websites, as I'll put all these links down below, and also here, we are here to help. So if you need to contact us individually, if you want to email me or leave a question with the library, I can get back in touch with you. This is our phone number, this is our email address, and we have a landline and we have a mobile as well, because a lot of us are working from home. But again, you can contact me, you can get in touch, you can let me know if you have any individual questions. I hope this has helped. If you want anything, give us a shout or get in touch with the library directly. Thanks.
Hi there. Jenny here again from the Dyslexia Association. I just wanted to answer some of the queries that we had back around the video. So first query was from a primary school teacher just wondering around inclusiveness in the classroom. So what I would say is inclusiveness is very important with dyslexic students, so they don't feel different and don't feel left out. There can be, with resource, we all know at the moment, especially resource maybe outside of the classroom, or it may be in where the SEN teacher might come into the classroom and offer a resource. So if that's the case and you're trying to think about how are we going to explain to maybe second class or third class why this is happening, there might be a group of 1 or 2, or there might be a group of 6 kids who are getting resource for many different reasons. We would say if you do say book time or shared reading, or you could read, these are some of the books we would say to maybe get for some of the students. So it's called Dyslexia. It's by O'Brien's Press, so that's probably where you'll get it. It's written by Jenny Moore, and it's very informative. So that kind of age range would be 7, 8, 9, 10 even. The next one would be Tom's Special Talent. So this is more for younger kids, you 7, 8, like your kind of first class, second class. So Tom's Special Talent is very good about explaining what dyslexia is and understanding why I struggle. This is why I struggle. This is one of the most popular books, but unfortunately it's kind of out of print now. Your library might have it or your school might have it. Dyslexic brains learn differently. This was printed by Ennis National School, so you can contact them directly to see if they have any copies available. It's a really good book because each page is written by a child about their experience in school, so that's really informative, letting the rest of the class know why this is happening, or just acknowledging the child or the children with dyslexia. The other options are the NCSE. I'll just share the website now. So the NCSE has a really informative website, obviously, but they also have this whole school policy. So this is something that you could look up. So there's the website there, the SESS. It's under the NCSE, Developing Whole School Policy Dyslexia. If you look that up, you'll be able to find that information. So it gives us all these options. So we have dyslexia and challenging behaviours, dyslexia and IT, dyslexia and reading instructions, advice for mainstream teachers. So that would be what we would be looking at, mainstream and then post-primary as well. So if there's any second level teachers out there, this is also an option for you guys. So it's just letting the child know, you know, they don't feel, oh my God, why are they leaving? You know, so it's letting them know that they can talk about it if they want. If they don't want to talk about it, they don't have to. Inclusiveness this month was Dyslexia Awareness Month, so we had a big push around school support. If you, the teacher, want to contact me directly, I can send you on some individual advice or suggestions. There's also a new free program organised by the European Dyslexia Association, and it's called Magic Sens, Magic SENS.EU. So that's a really informative website as well. That would be to give you guys training online for free. You have to register beforehand, so pop on the website there and have a look. If you guys want, you can call me or email me on the details that were given previously if you guys have any questions. I hope that helps. So one of the other questions we were asked a lot by parents is with children who have siblings who may not be dyslexic, where a younger child might be better at reading or writing or spelling than their older child who's dyslexic. So it's working on that confidence and letting them know just because you're not good at one aspect doesn't mean you're good at another. You know, they could be good at typing, or they could be great at using the apps we spoke about on the phone. You know, you could say, why don't we try these apps? To improve their reading ability or their oral literacy ability, there's this new website and app that's come about now. It's expensive. It's a program for a year, so it costs €100 over Dyslexia Awareness Month. They've been offering it at half price. It's called Night Zookeeper, and you become the night zookeeper and you have to write your story. This is my pet, this is my animal, this is their name, this is about their family. So it's encouraging the children to use their literacy, their oral literacy. So, and you type it in, so you'll sit beside them and work with them. It's a very expensive program. It mightn't work for everyone. So that's why there are the apps. There's the Nessie apps, the Hairy Phonics, there's Ed Shed to improve their spelling abilities. So there's lots of different apps out there, but working on their confidence, letting them know it's okay if you're not great at reading, because your sibling mightn't be great at sports or technology or singing or dancing or whatever they're good at. Work on that. They're really good at this thing, whatever they're good at, and work on that and say, okay, so we're going to work at the reading, and in 6 months you'll be just as good as them, you know. But it mightn't be 6 months. We all know that it could take a little bit longer. So it's with the correct support in and outside of school, their reading will improve. But to work on their confidence, let them know it's okay to be dyslexic. It's okay to not have the same, you're not reading as your brother is 8 and you're 10 and he's reading better to you. Not everybody is a reader, we know that. But if they are, try and get them, as I said in the previous answer, to get them to read some of the books if they're older. But these type of books, if they're older, there are books. Dyslexia is My Superpower. That's a really good informative book for teens and preteens to let them know about the positivity about dyslexia and like finding their tribe and letting, like, not to be embarrassed around it. Confidence, again, it's in school as well. So letting the teacher know not to ask them to read out loud in class. You know, if they're coming home and already feeling deflated by the negative day possibly that they had in school, that maybe we'll do reading on our own, or we won't do reading in front of our siblings, so they're not under the limelight, they're not under that spotlight. Oh, I can read that, I was reading that last year. You know, read alone in their room if they want, just you and them. That would be an option as well. There was a couple of other questions there that we I covered in the main video. So if I haven't answered your question in the main video or here, what I would say is get in touch with the library or contact us directly and I can give you a call. We can drop you an email, we can get in touch and we can get them reluctant readers reading. So yeah, best of luck with everything. If you guys need anything, we're always at the end of a phone and the library is always there. The staff in the library are very supportive as well. Take care. Bye bye.